In Hoi An, you can see the name FIFO in many places. The origin of such a name is still uncertain, but FIFO has become a symbol of this town. Indeed, the name reminds us of a glorious past. Back in the 16th century, FIFO Hoi An was a famous port attracting traders from both Asia and Europe.
The port was established thanks to the maritime Silk Road.
During this period, Da Nang served as a smaller outport of the busy Hoi An trading port.
In the 16th, 17th century, Hoi An was already a prosperous town bustling with trade and exchange.
The Museum of Trade Ceramics in Hoi An, a repository of ceramic of various types, includes Hisen porcelain from Japan, Jinde Chanhua from China, and Chudok ceramics from Vietnam. All are remnants of the bustling period in FIFO, a busy stop in the middle of the east-west sea routes of the time.
During that time, Vietnam was an agricultural country. Therefore, farmers were often more respected than traders.
But Hoi An had chosen its own path.
Hoi An at that time, however, chose trade as the main economic activity of the town. In the 16th century, cross-continent trade was very developed, so it seemed Hoi An did well to keep up with the times.
That development path stemmed from the policies of the Nguyen lords.
The Nguyen lords at that time wanted to use Hoi An as a tool to strengthen ties with other countries, reaching out to the world, increasing the influence of Dang Chong.
Most importantly, this trading port was too close to the capital city, and the surrounding terrain was very suitable for military defense.
The port not only solved some economic problems, but also provided a good solution to some of the issues of foreign affairs and military presence.
Hoi An Market, located right in the center of the old town, is one of the places remnants of the past glory of this town are still preserved. It is now an attractive destination for tourists. Hundreds of years ago, as Hoi An became an international trading center, goods from all around the world flooded into Hoi An Market.
The frequent transit of trading ships turned the old town of Hoi An into a trade hub where imports and exports mingled.
The diversity of trading goods in Quảng Nam at that time was described in Le Quidon's Phu Viên Tạp Lục, or the miscellaneous chronicles of the pacified frontier, as follows. Birds from Sơn Nam, Đang Ngoại only brought back brown tubers. Birds from Thuận Hóa, Phú Xuân only brought back peppers. Birds from Quảng Nam, Hoi An brought back everything you can ask for.
As Le Quidon described, the town was very rich. Cinnamon, agarwood, swallow's nest, everything could be found in Quảng Nam. The goods were transported by the currents of the Tu Bun and Trường Giang rivers, so it was easier than going through Da Nang port.
It was the Tu Bun River that helped form such a busy trading port.
At the end of the Tu Bun River is an estuary. Once out to the sea, the ships could go anywhere. The Tu Bun River that brought merchandise into the town and exported our goods to other countries.
However, the most important element that turns FIFO Hoi An into one of the most prosperous trading ports in Southeast Asia at that time was its geographical advantages.
The branch of the Tubon River that flowed through Hoi An at that time was enormous. There were no sand dunes or beaches, and the waters were deep enough for large ships.
Hoi An has Ge-Dai, a deep and wide estuary, suitable for large ships to dock. But more importantly, this ancient trading port is surrounded by the Cham Islands, which act as a natural shield. Located just 15 kilometers off the coast of Hoi An, the Cham Islands of the present have become one of the world's biosphere reserves and an attractive tourist spot. In previous centuries, the Cham Islands, scattered along a boat-shaped arc, acted as a natural breakwater for Hoi An, making it easier for ships to dock and shelter during bad weather.
Foreign ships always had to visit the Cham Island on their way to Hoi An.
For seafarers, Hai Tak Pagoda was like a birth for their spirits. They came here to find peace for their souls after weeks of months at sea and pray for safety on their next voyage. The ancient wells were also another reason why ships and boats kept coming back to the Cham Island.
The Cham Island were a place where people could get fresh water for crew members and passengers on the ship to prepare for the upcoming journey.
This well in Gum Hamlet was built about 200 years ago. It has been an abundant source of fresh water for the island's residents and seafarers docking in the area. Thousands of ancient relics have been found after many excavations on the Cham Islands. These artifacts are diverse in date and origin, but all of them are proof of the once bustling scene of Hoi An trading port. By the end of the 18th century, sand dunes started to emerge and Ge-Dai estuary shrunk in size.
Ge-Dai estuary at that time became aggraded. It gradually dried up, making it difficult for ships to dock. Tubon River also narrowed due to the emergence of sand dunes and beaches.
The hustle and bustle in the old town of Hoi An gradually transferred to Da Nang as the French decided to develop that area. After that, goods and merchandise started to flood into this new port.
The port of Da Nang was expanded, replacing Hoi An as a trade hub in the area. I think it was only natural.
Since then, Hoi An has fallen into oblivion as a trading hub. The once bustling five-fold Hoi An is now only a thing of the past.
Each country and each individual have their own destiny. Each country and each individual have their own port. Its fate was already written by nature and history.
of ferries that run from Hoi An Ancient Town to Cam Kim Island Commune and back. These ferries evoke memories of the former trading port, memories of a golden past. Every piece of land had its own role to play in history. Hoi An finished its role as an international trading port after 300 years, from the 16th to the 18th century. It is fortunate for Hoi An that it is one of the few towns that has been able to both materially and spiritually for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years ago, Hoi An was considered a door out into the world, a place where different cultures converged. Many came here to establish their businesses, and many also chose to stay here permanently. Eugene Poulaner comes from France. It has been 6 months since he moved to Hoi An to open a small restaurant.
With my friend, we opened this restaurant for buying pizza and French meals. We sell ice cream too because I like very much and I like to do.
Hundreds of years ago, many like Eugene also came to settle and establish their businesses in this town.
Not only Chinese and Japanese, even Indian, Italian, French, and Portuguese also stayed here.
These merchants all became residents of Hoi An.
There were people who chose Hoi An as their second homeland. They set up guilds and resident area there, for example, the Japanese quarter. The Nguyen lords allowed Chinese and Japanese to govern their own quarters. They could sell anything they wanted, as long as they lived in harmony with each other.
Many Japanese tourists also come here to learn more about Hoi An. Not everyone knows that their fellow countrymen were once a part of this land.
I have never known that Japanese once resided in this town if I didn't travel to Hoi An. This is my first time coming here, but I hope the Japanese can come back and we can live together like it was before.
The Japanese merchants didn't just come to visit, but decided to stay permanently. Banjiro was one of the most famous merchants in Hoi An during that period. His grave is located in a garden in Cam Châu Ward. The original tomb design has been kept largely intact, and local people currently look after it.
The local people still visit him, taking care of his grave and offering him incense as if he was part of their own families.
The locals still do all that, even when they don't really know whose grave this is.
What Bo? I don't know any Bo. Bo village? I don't know. I don't even know where Japan is. I only come here to clean up and burn incense on full moon and new moon days.
Hoi An became the second homeland for traders like Banjiro or Gusho-Gukon.
There have been visitors from Japan who claimed to be their descendants coming here to find their ancestors, but they didn't retrieve the remains because they respect the wishes of their ancestors to be buried in this land.
These graves are precious reminders of a period of thriving trade in the port town of Phi Pho, as well as the good relations between Vietnam and Japan. Economic exchanges led to cultural convergence. The multinational characteristics of local residents have created a special identity for Hoi An. Chùa Cầu or the Bridge Pagoda is one result of cultural convergence. Locality.
When people choose to lead a religious life, they usually become reclusive. But actually, the distance between religion and life is nothing, both on the physical and spiritual planes. This bridge was built by the Japanese.
The bridge serves the locals in their daily activities. The pagoda, on the other hand, the bridge serves the locals in their daily activities.
The bridge is life, and the pagoda is religion. From the bridge pagoda, we can see the harmony and resonance of different cultures converging together in one place.
Therefore, the bridge pagoda has become the symbol of Hoi An, the bridge between life and religion.
The people in Hoi An don't discriminate between foreigners and locals. As long as you are good-natured and willing to lead a good life with us, you are very welcome, and together we'll build a prosperous community.
The convergence of cultures is also expressed in the spiritual life in Hoi An. This town is home to many types of religions and spiritual practices, because everyone brought along their own spiritual beliefs when they settled here. Buddhism, Christianity, Taoism, and many other religions all have coexisted peacefully in this town for hundreds of years.
The people here don't stigmatize any religion. They respect everyone's beliefs, even though they themselves may not agree. As long as people treat each other well, any religion is accepted.
The dynamic, open and generous personalities of merchants around the world have all been congregated in Hoi An. They have been living together, doing business together, and more importantly, establishing a unique identity to this land. Doing business together, and more importantly,
There are still some illiterate people in Hoi An. I still believe that no one from any other locality is as multilingual as a Hoi An local. People can communicate easily with foreigners in a friendly manner without disturbing them. It seems the process of cultural convergence is still happening in this place, as there are still foreigners buying land here to live. They'll soon become permanent residents.
Hoi An has a typical tropical climate, which means it can rain a lot for several months. However, weather poses no difficulties for the daily activities of people here. Locals and tourists alike still carry on with their activities under a rainy sky. In any circumstance, the people of Hoi An always manage to find ways to cope with nature, even during floods. Researcher Nguyễn Chi Trung is an expert on Hoi An in flood season. in flood seasons.
Houses in Hoi An are always designed with strong structures, wooden frames and thick walls to protect the property. Especially, the tiled roofs are very effective against the strong winds because the thick multi-layer placement of the tiles makes them hard to blow away during storms. Furthermore, glue is applied on both sides of each tile, so the tiled roofs are rarely damaged.
There are about 80 wells like this in Hoi An. But it is the light well that is the key feature of an ancient Hoi An house. This is where light floods into the entire house.
It's their way to respect nature. No matter how narrow the house is, there must always be a light well to attract wind and natural light. Therefore, we can say that the people of Hoi An learned how to live in harmony with nature centuries ago.
As for Ojan, despite the not so encouraging business situation, he still has reasons to remain in this town.
And people generally, they like to go next to the river because, and in the old town because it's very beautiful. It's beautiful city. It's beautiful, it's quiet, it's next to the beach. And I thought I'd like to live here. But we don't know if we shall stay because working is not so easy.
For nearly 3 centuries, Hoi An played the role of a gateway to international trade, receiving the quintessence of the world to shape its own culture. This quintessence can be found in each of the residents of this ancient port town.